Why employers hate Gen Z? Oh, shocking that they would hate it, Gen Z. There's no way. There's no way at all.
According to a survey of over 1,000 hiring managers,
Where's from?
74% consider Gen Z the most difficult generation in the workforce. And
Is that
despite Gen
true?
Z becoming one of the most educated generations in history, nearly half
I
of
don't think
all
that's true.
managers purposely avoid hiring recent grads, raising the
I feel like it's like generational. So like our generation probably hated us, and the generation before or the generation before us probably hated us. The generation before them probably hated them, and they have this conversation. And then we're going to be having it about the millennials, and the millennials are going to be having it about the next thing. Actually, I'm a millennial. I'm talking about Gen Z, and Gen Z is like I think it's Gen Y after that. Let me know if I'm wrong. But they're gonna just keep going down. So this is not uncommon.
concern,
Wouldn't
will
you want
Gen
to hire
Z
somebody
ever be
older
able to
that matches
meet
your energy and
employers'
has more experience
demands?
anyways?
While each generation entering the workforce has faced accusations of being lazy, entitled, or disloyal, the reality behind these labels is often far more complex.
Hope my
As
parents
the
are
Harvard
millennials.
Business Review highlights, the US working age
I'd be a
population
terrible
is
parent, you
shrinking at a
guys.
rate not seen since World War II. With 3 million fewer individuals than millennials, Gen
Population is
Z's smaller
decreasing.
population adds pressure to an already evolving
It's
workforce,
Gen
highlighting
Z,
the need to examine how
millennials,
the experiences
Gen
and
Alpha.
work habits of previous generations have shaped the modern economy. The silent generation, born between 1928 and 1945, grew up in a time of profound uncertainty, shaped
Hmm.
by the hardships of the Great Depression and the devastation of World War II. As adults, they helped rebuild a society restructured around the Cold War, fostering a mindset focused on working within the system rather than.
Have I ever had a video unexpectedly blow up? Yeah, dude. I've had a couple videos blow up. That's probably why I'm at all popular after just a couple of weeks. I just kind of threw it out there, and it hits. Sometimes you just get lucky. So.
Challenging it. Programs like the GI Bill expanded access to higher education, fostering a workforce that emphasized technical skills,
Hmm.
discipline, and steady progression within corporate hierarchies. Their pay your dues mindset not only contributed to the post war economic recovery, but also bolstered labor unions, securing
Always.
wages, better working conditions, and the benefits that defined middle class stability. Despite these achievements, real wages have grown by only 0.7% over the last 50 years, accounting to a 18-cent increase as of February of 2022, where today Gen Z emerges as the most pro-union generation in decades, echoing the silent generation's fight for economic fairness, but leveraging digital platforms to amplify their calls for higher wages and equitable working conditions. Yet this approach draws criticism from older generations, often perceiving the demands as being entitled, lacking patience and sacrifice that once defined the traditional labor movements. As the
Hmm.
silent generation
Yeah.
transitioned into
So
leadership
basically, what they're
roles
saying
throughout the
is there's like
70s.
a lot of differences. How boomers rebelled against the silent generation workforce. It just seems like there was just a lot of differences in general between the different generations because, like, honestly, we have so much internet, we have so much like what else do we have to do? Also, it's like why have kids? Why do any of this stuff when you can't afford it? The inflation's out of control, man, and everybody's doing that. No one's arguing any of those points. Especially with the recent stock market crash, everybody's even more nervous. It's not like things are getting better. They're getting a lot worse. Maybe they will get better in the future. As far as I'm concerned,
And
you can
80s,
correct
their
me if I'm
emphasis on
wrong.
structure and
Please let me
discipline
know.
helped shape the professional environment and laid the groundwork for the modern workforce today. However, their loyalty driven work culture frequently clashed with the ambitions of baby boomers, whose priorities reflected a very different set of
Mm,
societal and economic conditions.
mm.
Baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964, grew up in vastly different circumstances compared to their parents. Early boomers, raised by the greatest generation, inherited values of sacrifice and hard work, but rejected the materialism and conformity of their upbringing. By the 1960s and 70s, they led a cultural shift challenging the organization man mindset that prioritized loyalty to employers over personal fulfillment, an attitude echoed by Gen Z today. Although later
Yeah.
boomers, influenced by their silent generation parents, lean more towards stability and working within the system, economic challenges in the 1980s, including high inflation, soaring interest rates, and stagnant wages, blurred these distinctions, resulting in boomers averaging 10 jobs by the age of 34,
Hmm.
practically switching jobs every
10 jobs
year
at
from
34.
18 to 24,
Why
far
wouldn't you switch
surpassing
jobs every
millennials.
year if you knew that you wouldn't have any loyalty from your employer? You should definitely switch jobs every year. You should honestly leverage the amount that you got from your previous job in order to get to another job that's going to offer you more money, right? So if you are making $25 an hour, right? And then you go over to this new job and you say, "Hey, I'll leave this job if you need workers for 27." But you've only been at the old job for a year and then they offer you $27, why would you stay at the other one, right? Maybe you would, maybe you like your job, maybe the risk is too much, maybe whatever, you don't feel like training or whatever, you're happy where you're at, right? But then you can go leapfrog and make lateral changes for more money. So you can end up being in a position that does the same job without having to get a promotion to get more money while jumping up to $3. Eventually, you get to the point where you're at like a lower level position and you're making as much as the manager above you is if you can negotiate things right. I've seen that happen a lot. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. So they won't have any loyalty. What if you get sick, man? What if you get sick and you have to go to the hospital and they replace you after you have to be in the hospital for a week? That's happened to people. I know people that's happened to. I mean, if it happened to you, I'm so sorry, but like that happens, dude.
and Gen Z.
Um, what camera do I use? I use a Canon R series with a 16 to 35 L glass lens. It's a 2.8.
At the same age.
Do you think YouTube is still a good platform to start on? I do believe it is a good platform. I think that you kind of have to. If you could be on TikTok Live to start, it'd probably be better because more people are doing that right now. YouTube's great too. Twitch is hard to get into.
Similarly, despite being framed as disloyal, 70% of Gen Z workers cite salary competitiveness as the driving force behind frequent job changes, reflecting a shared focus on financial security in a time of economic instability. And the shift towards short-term employment relationships weakened the emphasis on long-term career paths. Simultaneously, globalization and outsourcing emerged as a dominant cost-cutting strategy, further eroding
Mm,
traditional career ladders. Companies increasingly scaled back long-term training programs, prioritizing cost efficiency and flexibility over employee development, leaving Generation X to navigate an environment shaped by fragmentation, heightened competition, and the growing demand for adaptability. Generation X, born between 1965.
How long's the longest you've ever stayed at a job? And like, and how old are you? So like, yeah. I just want to know that because I don't know very many people who have stayed at a job for multiple years, but I've worked some projects where somebody was there for like 25 years. And I think in most cases those are um like late boomers or whatever that have worked for the government for a really long time and they just like the benefits and they like their job and they're just the type of person to do that. I don't know very many people like that, right? I don't think that that kind of exists anymore where we are exposed to so much that we it's hard for us to find our enough and to settle. So, yeah, let me know. Like, how old are you and how long have you been at your job? If it's been more than 5 years, then man, that's pushing it nowadays. So, good on you if that's the case, right?
In 1980 grew up amid rising divorce rates and dual income households, earning them the label latchkey kids. Societal shocks like the Challenger disaster, economic crisis, and political failures eroded their trust within institutions,
Yeah,
reinforcing their
they did.
focus on resilience and
Absolutely.
adaptability. While Gen Z is often criticized for seeking jobs that align with personal meaning, it was actually Gen X that first initiated this cultural shift.
Yeah.
According to developmental
Why work for
psychologist
yourself or
Jeffrey
why work for
Jensen
a company if you can
Arnett,
work for
Gen
yourself?
Xers began prioritizing identity driven careers in the 90s.
Because you'll never get paid as much by another person as you're willing to pay yourself. So, if you don't have to, then you should never work for somebody else. You should never work for another company unless you're a contractor and you can kind of set your terms and conditions because the freedom that comes with that is insane. You should always strive to do that. I don't know why anybody would want to work for a company unless they just really liked the cause or they really liked what they were doing for the world because of it. How do you stay motivated to make content? You guys. You guys. That's the answer. I like doing it for you guys, and I like to hang out with y'all, and it's fun. It's a nice stress relief because other than this, I really don't have anything to vent about, so I'm here venting to y'all. So
1990s tech boom, favoring roles that aligned with their passions and values over financial stability. Their pivotal contributions to emerging
mhm.
industries like technology and e-commerce, including their roles in the personal computing revolution and the rise of Silicon Valley, reshaped the global
Yeah,
economy
that's
and
how it
set the
was.
stage for today's purpose-driven
That's how
labor
it was.
market. The
The
shift also led
economy,
to a greater demand
and
for
the internet
flexibility,
boom, dude.
with
The
50% of
internet
Gen
came out, we
Xers
were like,
favoring remote
boom.
work,
It was so
surpassing
amazing.
both boomers
No life.
and Gen Z.
Don't touch grass at
However,
all.
their loyalty to employers was entirely conditional, based on if their personal and professional needs were met, setting the foundation for the
Exactly.
transactional nature of today's
You
modern
couldn't treat people like
workforce.
shit.
And by
They would
demanding
quit, and
both
they'd go find
purpose
another
and
job because they had the
flexibility in
internet,
their
'cause it was
careers,
easier to
Gen X
find.
reshaped workplace norms, paving the way for millennials to further amplify these trends. And before we break down the historical implications of the millennial generation, I am actively pushing and trying to get professors,
Yeah,
politicians,
for
economists,
sure.
journalists, and CEOs on the channel to help us break down some of these issues. If this video is providing any value to you
Well,
and you would like to
where are
support
they?
the
Why don't
channel,
they talk
I
about
would
it?
greatly appreciate it if you
I'll give
liked
you
the
a like and
video
follow,
and
dude.
subscribed if you haven't already done
Your favorite
so.
editing trick
It
to use in your
truly
vids?
does
I don't
help
really
when
do
reaching
much.
out to
I
these
actually use
guests.
AI to edit my videos because I'm a lazy piece of garbage. So I basically just upload them there. There's a couple different ones depending on what you do. But yeah, they make my clips and videos for me. Other than that, I just upload them directly to YouTube after I'm done with my streams.
Thank you all so much for your support. Millennials, born between 1981 and 1996, came of age during a period of rapid technological advancement and
Hmm.
economic instability,
That's
with the Great
me,
Recession profoundly shaping their entry into adulthood.
dude.
Raised by baby boomers,
I remember back in the day whenever I first got, like, my Windows 98 and, like, you had to, like, go to the bottom corner, I guess it'd be over here, and then you'd click the button, right? And then it would pop up a window, and then you'd have to go to the right thing, and then you have to find the next window so you could get over to play Hearts in Solitaire, and I just felt so cool because nobody knew where it was hidden in all those menu drop down things, and I could find them. So I literally have, like, my mom or one of my mom's friends be all like, "Hey, can you get to the games?" And I just felt like a tech nerd. I was, like, 6 years old or something like that at the time. I'm, like, 30 something now, early 30s right now, but thanks for the follow, man. I really appreciate that. Welcome to the movement. We are gonna change the world one day, but until then, we're just gonna watch YouTube. So here we go.
boomer and Gen X parents who emphasize structured parenting and achievement, millennials experienced highly organized childhoods filled with extracurricular activities
Look at
and
all
positive
those
reinforcement.
nostalgia Wonder Ball, Rugrats, which is I did not like that show at all, but Diablo, the original one, you remember having the Game Boys and you had the little light attachment and you could actually like when you're playing Pokemon, you could plug it into the back of the Game Boy and then have another Game Boy plugged in and you could battle each other and trade Pokemon and that was like, the only way you could get certain Pokemon from yellow to red into like gold to silver and all that stuff. What else you got here? Power Rangers. Oh my goodness. Like that's still popular today. I heard He-Man. One of my neighbors mentioned He-Man, like her son is into He-Man, and I'm all like, that's like pre my time, dude. He's like 6 years old. How does he know about He-Man? Like real throwbacks. Man, this is awesome. What a nostalgia thing. Kind of makes me
By
sad.
2008, they were the most educated generation in history, with
Who else
70%
remembers
pursuing
that?
higher education by the age of 25. Yet many graduated into a devastated job market,
Mm-hmm.
burdened with record student debt and underemployment. Nearly half accepted jobs
Yeah.
unrelated to their degrees, delaying wealth accumulation and home ownership, resulting in millennials to reshape their approach to work, rejecting rigid hierarchies and their traditional pay your dues
I'm the same
mindset.
way. I'm
They
basically unemployable
prioritized
now.
flexibility, collaboration, and roles that aligned with personal values. Their team oriented outlook, shaped by early
Is
exposure
that
to
dude
social
playing
media
in a
and their
golf
structured
thing?
childhoods, fostered innovation, but often clashed with the hierarchical
Why, so you could live
preferences
at the office? Now it's like a cool thing to do is to be like an urban traveler and urban camping and stuff and be like this tech guy because it costs $100,000 just to live in tech in heavy industries. Starting to get that to my city. I live in Dallas,
of
Dallas,
older
Texas.
generations, leading to
This is live, man. Would you ever do commentary live instead of recorded? You're in live recording right now, bud. So, yeah,
perceptions of
welcome.
entitlement until none other than
Sickening
Gen
yourself.
Z emerged into the workforce. Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2012, entered adulthood
Okay,
in a labor market
that's Z,
fundamentally
right?
transformed by systemic change and economic upheaval. Growing up immersed in social media, Gen
Uh
Z
huh.
has been exposed to curated success stories that amplify expectations for achievement while fueling anxiety about failure. Unlike previous
Yeah, that's me
generations,
right now.
much
That's
of their
me actually.
understanding of workplace norms comes from fragmented online narratives
100K
rather
per
than
day?
direct
Jesus
mentorship,
Christ.
leading to aspirations that often clash with labor market
Crazy
realities.
YouTubers.
Entry level positions, once a stepping stone into professional life, now frequently require
How many of you guys think that we're totally screwed, absolutely screwed, because we are getting rid of all these people who are working in these industries that make us our food that do all of our cleaning, that do all of our road work and construction and agriculture. Like, do you really think that we're going to be super impacted, or do you think like our unemployment rate's going to drop because there's more positions available and people are actually going to fill them that aren't working already? 'Cause I feel like a lot of people don't work and are on unemployment because they just don't want to work and they can survive on unemployment. Like, wouldn't you do that if you didn't have to work at all and you were cool with just being like poverty level for the rest of your life? I mean, why would you work? Why not? Why not have the free time?
Hire 3 to 5 years of experience, with 38.4% of these roles including such demands. Rising higher education costs and diminished vocational training have further narrowed pathways, leaving many Gen Z candidates burdened with debt and
Hmm.
unprepared for the skills employers
Yeah.
require. Federal investment in workplace development has also plummeted, falling from $69 billion when adjusted for inflation under the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act in 1979 to just $20 billion today, resulting in the societal expectation that Gen Z will just have the necessary skill sets when emerging into the workforce, when in all reality,
Mm.
all of the traditional avenues in obtaining those
That
is
student debt
practically
didn't
impossible
help.
to come by. And unfortunately, the
That
2020
you're saying?
global crisis exacerbated these challenges. Remote education and work environments
Yeah, that
deprive
was
Gen Z of
stupid.
opportunities to develop essential soft skills, such as
Yeah, I noticed that, like, babies, because I do some photography for my, life, and, I noticed that, like, the small babies that then grew up, in isolation away from other people and children, like, they had a lot more closed off, personalities, and they were a lot less, they were a lot more scared emotionally, just in general. That kinda scary, man. Like, those kids might be messed up for the rest of their lives because they're very formative. Have I ever gotten a copyright strike? No. I don't really post too many copyrighted videos, and then, if I am using a video that is on YouTube already, they'll let me know if I'm screwing up, and I just won't post it. But it hasn't happened yet, so that's good.
communication, collaboration, and conflict resolution. Relying heavily on digital communication, many now struggle with the nuanced interpersonal dynamics required in professional settings. Hiring managers have criticized their perceived inability to adapt to workplace expectations or engage in meaningful collaboration, where intergenerational mentorship has also declined, with 1 in 5 Gen Z workers reporting no conversations with colleagues over the age of 50 in the last year alone. And these factors have left Gen Z, frankly, ill equipped to meet the
Yeah.
growing
That checks
demands
out, though.
of a
I
labor
mean,
market that offers fewer pathways for
the
growth.
older you
And
are, the harder it
ironically,
is to be in the workforce because of technology, and if you're not well adapted to it and you didn't grow up with it and you weren't really into it whenever it did come out as an older person, you're gonna be lost, dude. You're definitely not going for, like, the big jobs where it takes a lot of efficiency. You're not. You just can't fit in that role, and if you feel, that that's incorrect, like, let me know, but right? If you're not in it and you're not entertained by it and you're not interested in it, you're not gonna learn it, right? And if you don't learn it, you're not gonna keep up. And if you're not gonna keep up, then you're not gonna get hired. So it really does suck that there's some not ageism, but it's just like you remove yourself from the pool because you don't want it, you're not interested in it. And I totally understand that.
for those that do have the ability to communicate, dress professionally, show up on time, all the things that employers actually are wanting, well, that frankly no longer has any importance on a
Mhm.
resume. It isn't the
Doesn't.
keywords that'll get you promoted on the LinkedIn platform, and likely isn't even
Yeah.
something that a
Welcome
third
to the
party
YouTube live, man.
recruiter
It's my
or
first live.
interviewer
Thanks for
will
joining.
even ask for. And with the hiring process increasingly being outsourced to third party recruiters and automated systems,
And
only
contracted work is huge.
39% of hiring
And it's
teams
cheaper for
have
companies.
actually received formal interview training. And this reliance on automated systems further just exacerbates the issue, as 75% of applications are excluded before ever being reviewed by a human, with
Yeah, AI,
78% of
baby. What did you
hiring
think it was gonna
managers
do,
just
right?
predicting that AI will replace entry level jobs
Mhm.
altogether.
That's
Now,
kinda the
unlike
whole point
hiring
behind AI,
managers,
wasn't it?
employers, and recruiters that have
Like, guys, if I'm an employer and I am trying to save money on labor, which is about one third of all of your expenses, it's usually one third product and inventory to sell or whatever that product is. It's one third labor and one third overhead. So you might get 10%. Good companies probably make about 20% total. So if I'm trying to minimize that labor cost and minimize the cost of a lot of other things using AI, Like, absolutely, I will. Because if I can go from 10 to 15% to 20 to 25%, I have a viable business for the rest of my life. And it's consistent, man. It's consistent. So if you're not using AI and you can be using AI, you should. Like, I use AI in order to clip all my videos to post them. Maybe I should, but I'm lazy, and it's just way quicker, and I just don't have that much time in the day. So, like, if you disagree, let me know. But right? I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you use it?
Have just done everything in their power to give Gen Z the ability to thrive in the workforce and are unfortunately just having to resort to not
Yeah, they
hiring
don't care, man.
any recent
Really don't
grads
care.
for 2025 because Gen Z in the entirety is just the worst generation
Mhm.
to work with. Well, we now have the ability to
If y'all have
understand
worked with
the
Gen Zers,
cultural,
like, let me know what
societal,
your
and
experience is like.
historical implications that have led us to this point. What I really wanted to get to the point of here is I wanted to show that all throughout history, patterns continuously repeat themselves. We point fingers at every emerging generation because, frankly, it is the easiest thing to do. To hear them talk about the work environment is not
Yeah,
fair,
it's pretty bad.
that wages need to be better, that this and this and this and this, well, one, that makes you feel like, well, I mean, why didn't I talk about it? Yeah, it does kind of suck, but I've been dealing with it, so you should too. But it also makes you think, these silly people,
Like,
they
my
don't
life
even
sucks,
know
my
how
job
hard it
sucks,
used
so
to
yours
be.
should too. That makes
Well,
sense,
in
right?
reality, yeah, that's kind of the point of society. That's why you have kids. That's why you work, is to make it get a little bit easier to
Mm,
have technological advancements, make things a
I think
little
so.
bit more convenient. But the reality is there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be things that people are going through, and their perspective on that is
Yeah.
going to seem severe to them. So you have to come at them with compassion.
Of course, it's severe to them. Everyone is concerned about their own thing. Everyone thinks that their thing is the main thing. The world revolves around them. It doesn't revolve around everybody else, does it? Like, that's what makes sense. What's your setup look like? Show us. I'm not really gonna show you guys, but I tell you, in my Twitch bio about, I have the specs set up there, and the only difference is like I don't have my camera on there. And it's an R5 with the 16 to 35 millimeter lens on it, and I don't know what this mic is, an AKG. I know it was just recommended to me by a streamer buddy because I didn't want to spend. I think it's good quality. What do you think, guys?
But as a society, we don't have any idea
Nah,
on
dude,
how
you
to do that.
disagree?
So again, it's
I'm
easy to
sorry.
place blame. So
You can disagree.
why do employers dislike Gen Z? It's easy. Now, if you want to get to some of the actual critiques, yeah, Gen Z don't have the ability to effectively communicate in the workforce. Okay, so what do we do about it? Yeah, let's just not hire any recent grads. What does that do?
Mm.
Does that help anybody? Will they now be able to have the communication skills needed in 2026?
I don't think that it's their responsibility to hire people who are coming out of colleges with these degrees and these super kind of like left leaning mindsets that aren't really beneficial to the workplace, right? When you can be hiring somebody who spent the last 4 years in the industry and has experience, right? So which one's the best one for your business? Which one are you going to choose? Someone who's been very indoctrinated into a more liberal side of the world, or is it gonna be the person who has a lot of experiences, who's been grinding for the last 4 years, same age, maybe different mentality, has a little bit more real world experience? I always have a hard time saying that. And so, yeah, which one would you choose for your business? Let me know down in the comments, please.
No. It makes absolutely no sense to me. What you do is you create an environment with respect on both sides and start doing some training, doing some managing, doing some mentorship to instruct, hey, this is how you communicate. Yeah, I know that you like to do this, but this is
Mm.
how we're going to do it. Find a middle ground.
I don't think it's their
Listen to what it is that
responsibility.
they're
Just
actually
hire the
trying
person
to
that you
say.
want.
And I am not just trying to say Gen
You
Z
don't
are
agree with
victims
me?
or anything like that.
What
I'm
don't you
trying
agree
to
with?
do a fair approach to say that what is happening is absolutely just ludicrous. The fact
Yeah.
that for the
Okay.
past century, each generation is just doing this, saying, hey, maybe we should have better wages, a better work environment, a blah, 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 blah. And then the generation is, you're lazy, you're entitled, You're not loyal.
Yeah, but the problem is that actually the solution is to be not retained by a company because if a company knows that you can go get a better job, they're incentivized to keep you there if they want you there. And what happens is that either they have to pay you a lot more and give you good benefits. So if another offer comes, it's not tempting, and they're not probably not gonna be able to offer as much, right? Or the other side of it is that you pay a lot less, and then people do end up leaving, but you have a really high turnover rate. So retention over turnover, there's two different strategies for a business, right? Which one would you choose? I don't know. Depends on the business, right? If you're Taco Bell and it's really kind of cheap and easy to hire somebody to do the job because it's not super complicated and they don't need a lot of experience, then good, right? Set. But if you're a contracting company that has to contract out people who work on web design or construction, then yeah, obviously that's going to be a more retention. You're going to want to give them better benefits. You're going to want to pay them more so they'll stay on the projects with you, or so the contractor won't move to a different recruiter. And if people are hopping between jobs very frequently, you just have to up the benefits of staying. So give them more money, treat them better, give them more opportunities, make sure that their job is in alignment with their lifestyle so they have everything they need. That's an L take, or like, what's L about the take? Like, it's so funny that people come in here and they tell me that I have a dumb take, but they'll never explain like their side of the story or why they think it's that way.
If back in my
But I
day,
love the hate.
so this just continuously happens for all eternity. Now, what is happening over here? Well, it's the very thing that you're arguing about. It's wages, it's fulfillment in the work environment, it's collaboration, it's you name it.
Mhm.
So, what is happening? Has wages gotten better? Anything
Have I ever covered something and later realized you were wrong? Yeah, that's never happened because I'm so smart and brilliant and I never am wrong. No, definitely. Sometimes I mishear thing or I misinterpret something in a video and then I'll say something that's like completely kind of an a-hole thing to say and then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I misheard that." So I'm the idiot. But that's fine. I knew I was an idiot when I started. So,
in the
no
work
change.
culture gotten better in the last century?
Exactly. Yeah. And it hasn't. It
Well,
has gotten
there's
better.
definitely,
It
if you
has.
really nitpick, you're going to find something. But
Okay.
the
Yeah.
reality is that what if
Getting nitpicky,
instead of us
guys.
arguing, we focused on the issue?
Pay people more to keep them at their job?
But
Yeah.
nope, them dang Gen
Duh.
Zers. Now, I will say, I just turned 25, so I am a Gen Zer. Impossible for me not to have
Bias?
some bias, but
Anybody
I will
see any
say
bias?
some of the
Lots of bias?
worst people I have worked with
Mm.
were Gen Z. Now, was that because they were Gen Z? Or was that because they just didn't
What
fit in the
industry?
culture that we had? Was that just because I didn't have the patience to actually listen to what they were saying? There's so many other components. I will also say some of the most frustrating people that I've ever worked with were Gen Xers, were millennials that just I couldn't understand. So,
'Cause they
what
have a
is the
way, they're set in
common
their way, you know?
similarity
Like,
among
why
these?
change if
It's
it's been working
me.
for years?
I am the one that needs to be making the
Y'all
decisions
always
on
ganging
how
up
I
on me
handle
in
these
chat, I love it.
interactions.
Why are y'all so
If you are a
mean?
hiring manager, an employer, a recruiter, your responsibility is to find the best candidate. So if
Mhm.
people are coming in that are not effective, it's your fault. It's not the generation's fault. Again, placing blame. It doesn't do anything effective. What I want to just
What do you guys think about that? I think that's kind of not a good take because, I mean, if you have a less pool of good people because they're uneducated or inexperienced on average across the entire board of their generation, or they're just unsocialized or they've been distracted in their life because of social media or whatever it is, they have different alignments and goals. So, like, obviously, if they have less good people in the pool, they're going to have to fill these roles somehow, and they're going to panic and let anybody do it. Anybody who might be moderately qualified or trainable. Just the way
also
it works.
highlight, because I think it's interesting, is when you look at boomers, we think of boomers. In reality, there was multiple different types of boomers based on their parents, which then slowly trickled down to other components. Now, I just turned 25. My parents are the oldest Gen X, the youngest boomers, and their parents were the silent generation. When I look at myself, this analysis gave me so much clarification because the way that I was raised and the way that I hold myself in the workforce is of efficiency, is of discipline, of hard work, of
Mhm.
impacting the providing value to my surroundings. That is all it is that I want to do. When I and that is the same across the board with my closest friends. Now, when I look at some of those outside friends, some acquaintances that are a little bit younger, the Gen X parents, they very much prioritize work-life balance. No big deal. That's totally fine. Just different than the way that I operate my life. Then when I look at the younger Gen Z, raised by millennials, they are very much prioritizing emotional well-being and all these other components. Again, not saying anything different, but when we paint each generation as
I mean, you're
Gen
working.
Z,
Why
Gen
is it gotta be
X,
emotional
millennials, blah,
connections
blah,
and
blah, you're missing so many components rich with other information.
hey, thanks for the follow, bud.
We are living in a society that is being plagued by convenience and the inability as a society to have any discussion. We want to
Whoops.
blame Gen Zs for the inability to be able to communicate in the workforce. Hey, as a society, we have no ability to communicate. That's just facts. You will see that even after this video, in the comment section below will be, yeah, Gen Zs are still lazy. I guarantee
I think
you, you're
everybody's
gonna
getting
see one of
lazier, to be
those. Or,
honest. I don't
yeah,
think it matters your
boomers still
generation at all.
suck. It's gonna happen. Nothing we're gonna do about it.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can focus on ourselves and how we're going to handle each situation. And I do apologize that this stigma also happens to the boomers and the Gen X's that are getting fired and no longer able to get hired by somebody else because the recruiters, the employers, the hiring managers get to dictate whatever it is that they want to do. And all we do is we focus on
Mhm.
this.
Mhm.
Imagine if we focused on the issue. Anywho, I hope this video was able to provide some value. I thought that this is the path we needed to pursue this conversation.
I
I
guess.
think it's really interesting that we don't talk about the interconnected dynamics of generations more. And yeah, the audacity for me to say what life was like for boomers and for Gen X. If I got some of it wrong, I'm definitely sorry. Please let me know in the comment section below.
Yeah, quit assuming things that
The
you don't know about.
reality, I'm just having to read through so many different articles, so many different newspapers, magazines, just spending so much time studying because, well, frankly, it's hard to communicate with other generations. Um, but I hope that I was able to provide some value. Thank
Thank
you
you for
all
the
so much for
value,
your
bud.
time. Let's just keep moving forward. Let's keep doing the best that we can. Until
Doing the
next
best that
time,
we can,
bye bye.
guys.
Boy, it was sure nice of Mr. Krabs to give me a job.
And at
Yeah, that was
$50
an
an hour,
okay
too.
video. I appreciate what this guy went through. I think he was pretty biased though. And I think that a lot of the stuff was pretty much like, okay, why is it the employer's responsibility to do anything? Why is it the employee? It should be the employees that's trying to make like themselves look the best. Um, but you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're in the older generation, you're not qualified or you're getting left behind. If you're in the newer generation, you're not qualified and you're not capable of keeping up. So it's like it's hard to keep up in this modern workplace. That's kind of why AI is required now. It's kind of why we need the AI, isn't it? Right? I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.